Hello everyone, and welcome back to NovaLogos Audio English. We are continuing our walk through the gallery of Series 3. In our last chapter, we saw Jacob wrestling with God and receiving a new name. Today, we meet his favorite son, a young man who was given a coat of many colors and a vision of greatness, only to be cast into a pit of betrayal. We meet Joseph. Joseph's life is a masterpiece of divine timing. It is a story that moves from the height of favoritism to the depth of slavery, and from the darkness of a prison to the gold of a throne. Have you ever felt like your dreams were being destroyed by the choices of others? Have you ever wondered why God allowed a pit or a prison in your life when you were trying to be faithful? Joseph's journey teaches us that no matter how deep the pit, it is never outside the reach of Providence. Today, we explore how God can take the evil intended by men and weave it into a good that saves nations. Section 1. The Pit of Betrayal. Joseph's story begins with a dream and a coat, both of which fueled the jealousy of his brothers. They plotted against him and threw him into a cistern. In the book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 24, we see the beginning of his trial. Then they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. The empty pit represents the moment of absolute abandonment. Joseph went from being a beloved son to a piece of merchandise, sold to Midianite traders. Yet, the text repeatedly tells us something crucial. The Lord was with Joseph. Even in the silence of the pit and the hardship of slavery in Egypt, the presence of God was the invisible constant. Reflection. Have you ever been in an empty cistern, a place of loneliness where you felt discarded? Remember that your location does not limit God's presence. The pit was not a dead end. It was the first stop on the way to the palace. Section 2. The Shadow, the Weight of False Accusation. In Egypt, Joseph's character was tested. He rose to power in Potiphar's house, only to be falsely accused and thrown into prison. This was a long shadow, years of waiting for a justice that didn't seem to come. From Genesis chapter 39, verse 20, we see his resilience. Joseph's masters seized him and put him into the jail. But while Joseph was there in the jail, the Lord was with him. Joseph's shadow was the pain of being misunderstood and the temptation to become bitter. He was a prisoner for a crime he didn't commit. But instead of complaining, Joseph served. He interpreted dreams and cared for others, even while his own dreams seemed dead. He learned that character is built in the dark, and that God uses the prison to prepare the heart for the crown. Mirroring our lives. We all face seasons of unjust prisons, times when we feel punished for doing the right thing or forgotten by those we helped. Joseph shows us that we can either become bitter or better. When we trust that God is the ultimate judge, we can find the grace to be faithful in the dungeon while waiting for the dawn. Section 3. The Light, TT, the Sovereign Twist. The light broke when Pharaoh had a dream that no one could interpret. Joseph was summoned, and in a single day, he went from a prisoner to the second in command of all Egypt. Years later, when famine brought his brothers to his feet, Joseph revealed the light of his perspective. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, he utters one of the most powerful sentences in Scripture. "Even though you meant harm to me, God intended it for good, to achieve this present end, the survival of many people." This is the sovereign twist. Joseph realized that his brothers were just the ink in God's hand. Their evil was real, but God's purpose was bigger. The light of his life was the ability to forgive, because he saw the hand of God behind the trials. He didn't see himself as a victim of men, but as a servant of a plan. The light of perspective. Forgiveness is possible when you realize that no human being can ruin the plan God has for you. Joseph's light teaches us that the harm meant for us can become the healing meant for others. When we see the good that God is intending, the bitterness of the past melts away. Section 4. Bridge to the Present, Dreaming Through the Dark. How can Joseph's journey inspire us in our modern struggles? 1. Trust the invisible thread. When your life feels like a series of unfortunate events, trust that God is weaving a tapestry. The back of the tapestry looks messy, but the front is a masterpiece. 2. Be faithful in the small things. Joseph was a faithful slave, then a faithful prisoner, then a faithful ruler. Don't wait for the palace to start being excellent. 3. Redefine your enemies. Stop seeing people as the ultimate cause of your pain. See them as instruments that God might be using to position you for your destiny. Section 5. Language Clinic, Expressing Intent and Providence. To help you describe the deeper meanings of life's events, let's look at these English patterns. 1. Mean harm to and intend for good. These show the contrast between human motives and divine outcomes. You meant something for harm, Shival. Example, they meant the criticism for harm, but it made me stronger. God intended it for good. Spiritual use. This is the core of providence. It means that God doesn't just fix bad things. He repurposes them for a holy result. Achieve this present end. This phrase is used to explain the ultimate purpose or result of a long process. To achieve a goal/result, example, we worked all night to achieve this present end. Spiritual use. It reminds us that our current situation is often the end or the goal that all previous trials were leading toward. 3. The Lord was with someone. This is a recurring theme in Joseph's story, emphasizing that success or peace isn't about surroundings, but about presence. Example, the Lord was with her during the surgery. Spiritual use. It's a reminder that God's favor isn't a lack of problems, but a presence within the problems. Consolidation and review. Key phrases for your journey. 1. They threw him into the cistern, a reminder that even in our deepest moments of betrayal, we are not beyond God's sight. 2. The Lord was with Joseph, the most important phrase in the story. It teaches us that God's presence is our true coat of many colors. 3. God intended it for good. the ultimate statement of faith in divine providence. It changes us from victims to victors. 4. Achieve the survival of many. This highlights that our personal trials are often for the benefit of a larger community. 5. The dreamer whose dreams came true. This describes a life where human vision is fulfilled through divine intervention. 6. From the pit to the palace. A classic idiom representing a dramatic rise from a low point to a position of great power. Closing, the Tapestry of Grace. Thank you for joining us for Chapter 6. Joseph's life tells us that the NovaLogos pit you are in today might be the very thing that positions you for the Benok's palace tomorrow. Don't stop dreaming, and more importantly, don't stop trusting the dream giver. Even when people mean harm, remember that God is intending it for your good. In Chapter 7, we will move to a new era. We will meet Moses, the man who was called from a burning bush to lead an entire nation out of slavery. We will see how God takes a man of slow speech and turns him into a voice of liberation. If Joseph's story of the pit and the palace has been a blessing to you, please like this video and subscribe to NovaLogos Audio English. Your support helps us share these portraits of Providence with the world. Hit the notification bell so you can join us for the next chapter. Until we meet again, remember, God is weaving something beautiful. Goodbye.